Whispers in the hall. The grand hall of the Galactic Council was always loud. Alien leaders from across the galaxy shouted, argued, and made deals. There were over 50 species in the chamber, some tall with glowing skin, others floating, some crawling, and a few with voices that could shake the air itself. They all spoke in their own ways, but the translators made sure everyone understood. Everyone ... Except Earth. One chair in the circular chamber was always empty. It had been that way for 60 years. The nameplate read, Terra, Earth. Covered in dust, untouched, like a ghost from the past. Most council members ignored it now. Others used it for holding extra data pads or drinks. Some joked about it. Primitive planet, muttered the Trellan ambassador. Still using fuel rockets. Probably. They never even responded to the last 10 summons, hissed another. They're dead, said a third confidently. Earth was a failed species. Let the chair stay empty. But one old alien, covered in blue feathers and golden rings, sat in silence. His name was Vosrin, the last council member alive who remembered Earth's first contact. He leaned forward, staring at the chair. They are not dead, he said quietly. No one heard him. No one wanted to ... and it happened. A sharp tone rang through the hall. The sound came from the ancient system. It announced arriving dignitaries. It hadn't played that tone in decades. Lights above the hall changed to red, flashing slowly. A message followed. Incoming vessel, Terran origin. Clearance level, prime. Docking in 10 minutes. The hall froze. Every ambassador turned to the source of the voice. Did it say? Terran? One whispered. That's not possible, said another. They finally answered. Someone asked in disbelief. Vosrin stood slowly. His voice was calm but heavy with meaning. I told you. Earth remembers. Fear spread like wildfire. The larger races checked their guards. 1 or 2 ambassadors reached for concealed weapons. Even the floating diplomats, beings of pure energy, dimmed their glow slightly. Should we deny landing? Asked the security head, a lizard-like being named Goral. But it was too late. A second message followed. Terran vessel has landed. 1 life form disembarking. Just 1? Only 1? Someone asked. Why would they send 1 person? No one had an answer. Outside the grand hall, the docking platform opened. A sleek, black ship sat silently under the stars. It had no markings. No flags, no visible weapons. Yet its design felt dangerous. Like something not meant to be understood. The ramp extended. Boots touched the ground. A human stepped out. He wore a dark uniform, simple but sharp. No armor, no helmet, no escort. Just a tall, calm man with piercing eyes and a slow, measured walk. His face was unreadable. Not angry, not kind, just calm. Too calm. The guards at the gate raised their weapons but didn't fire. The human looked at them once. They lowered their weapons without a word. Back inside, the council chamber was full of whispers. They came alone. No ship in orbit, just that 1 vessel. Is this a threat? A trap? Vosrin spoke again, this time louder. You all forgot what humans are. The doors opened, and the human entered. His steps echoed in the silent chamber. Each one felt heavier than it should. His boots clicked on the polished floor. He didn't speak. He didn't pause. He just walked directly to the center, where a golden circle marked the speaker's platform. He stopped, looked around. And for a moment, no one dared breathe. The silence was so deep, you could hear machines humming. Every alien stared. Some in fear, some in confusion, others with hidden anger. But all stared. The human looked up, scanning the entire ring of alien leaders. Then, in a voice calm and clear, he said, You called. Earth has arrived. Nothing else. Just that. But it was enough. One. Ambassador dropped his gloss. Another flinched. Vosrin smiled, because he knew. The galaxy had just changed. Asterisk. The human envoy. The human stood still in the center of the grand hall. His presence alone was louder than any voice. He had not shouted. He had not made threats. Yet the entire Galactic Council, beings that ruled thousands of systems, sat frozen like statues. He slowly looked around the chamber. His gaze met every alien eye, one by one. When his eyes met theirs, most turned away. Others stiffened. A few felt something unfamiliar intimidation. He didn't smile. He didn't frown. His face stayed calm. Then, without asking, he sat down. On the floor of the center platform. Not the empty chair marked Terra. No, he waited, like someone who knew he didn't need permission. High above. The Council's inner security hub was in panic. "Do we scan him?" asked a nervous voice. "No. Last time we scanned a human, the system glitched for hours." "He has no weapons," said another. "At least none we can detect." On their monitors, the Terran ship outside remained silent. Still. Waiting. As if it didn't care what happened inside. As if it knew it wouldn't need to act. Back in the chamber, one brave alien finally spoke. It was Drenka, of the Starborn Tribunal, an insectoid diplomat with a voice like scraping glass. "State your name, your rank, your reason for being here." The human looked at Drenka, slowly, not with hostility, just quiet observation. Then he replied, his voice like smooth stone. "I am called Rillen. I hold no rank." "I came because you asked for Earth," Drenka hissed. "You're alone." Rillen didn't answer. Vos Rin stood from his seat. "He is not alone," the old bird-like alien said. "He is Earth." Gasps spread through the chamber. The room stirred. Council members began whispering. "This is ridiculous. One human does not represent an entire planet. Why didn't they bring a fleet or an army?" A sharp voice rang out from the side. It was Crass, a war general from the Fes. Bronic Dominion. Massive, armored, battle-scarred. He pointed at Rillen. "We defeated Earth? You remember that war? Earth lost. Their alliance crumbled. They ran." Rillen finally looked at him. Calmly. "You didn't win," he said softly. "You just didn't. Follow us." Crass's mouth opened to speak again, then closed. He had no reply. Suddenly, a group of tall, golden-skinned telepaths entered. The Mind Seers. They could scan memory and emotion. "Shall we read him?" The lead Mind Seer asked. Several council members nodded. "Go ahead." The lead telepath closed her eyes, reaching her mind out toward the human. Then she screamed. She fell to the floor, shaking, her eyes wide with terror. His mind? It's a storm. Fire, steel, death, and silence. Endless silence. Her companions pulled her back, trembling. The chamber fell into another silence. One, colder than before. Rillen hadn't moved. He hadn't even blinked. Vos Rin walked slowly down the steps from his seat. He approached Rillen with respect, stopping just before the platform. "You've come at last," he said quietly. Rillen nodded once. "We waited. We listened. We watched. And now Earth speaks." Vos Rin turned to the chamber. "Let the record show," he said, his voice echoing across the walls. "Earth has returned to the Council. Their voice must be heard." Several alien leaders began to protest. Others remained frozen in fear or awe. But Rillen simply said, "We don't need your permission. We only need to be understood." At that moment, every screen in the chamber changed, uncommanded, unauthorized. A hologram appeared, showing space. Black. Empty. Then stars blinked, hundreds of them. Human. Ships. Big ones. Silent. positioned just outside the borders of major council worlds. Unseen until now, the chamber filled with gasps, shouts, panic. How long have they been there? Why didn't we detect them? Are we under attack? Rillen stood. He finally walked toward the empty Terran chair. He didn't sit, not yet. He just placed one hand on it. And said, "Earth does not come to ask. We come because you forgot who we are." Eyes on the stranger, Rillen stood beside the empty chair marked Terra. His hand rested on the armrest, but he didn't sit. The Galactic Council watched in complete silence. For the first time in decades, not a single voice argued. No alien dared to speak over the moment. The very air inside the hall felt heavier, like the gravity had increased. Even the machines hummed more quietly, as if sensing the weight of his presence. One by one, alien leaders began whispering to each other soft. Unsure, almost fearful. Why hasn't he sat down? Is it a sign? A challenge? He's waiting. But for what? A small creature, the size of a child, floated forward on gentle wings. It belonged to the Whispering Kin, a peaceful species known for gathering information. She hovered near. Rillen and spoke, her voice like the wind. "Why now, Terran? Why after all this time?" Rillen turned slightly toward her. He answered without emotion. "Because your galaxy kept calling us weak? Or gone, so we watched." "And what did?" "You see?" Enough to know the Council forgot what fear is. The floating creature backed away, her wings trembling. Near the far corner of the chamber, a giant lizard-like ambassador growled, "I see no army. I see no weapons. Just one human standing there." Rillen looked at him with calm eyes. "You don't see the weapons because you never learned to look properly." The lizard grunted. "Is that a threat?" "No, it's a fact." A screen blinked again. No one had touched it. Another hologram appeared. This time, it wasn't just ships. It was Earth's deep space weapon platforms, cloaked in void light, sitting beside pulsars, moons, and dark energy wells. Silent, hidden, watching. Each one had enough power to destroy planets. Council began to realize Earth had been preparing, quietly, carefully, without a word. A new voice spoke up, from a tall, silver alien named Halix, who belonged to the Ancient Core Alliance. "We offered Earth peace once. Your people refused our help. Why should we trust you now?" Rillen finally walked toward the center of the circle again. He stood beneath the glowing dome that marked the speaker's position. "Earth never refused peace," he said calmly. "But you offered it only on your terms. You offered chains." A few gasps echoed. "Chains?" Halix repeated. "You dare accuse us. You offered peace as long as Earth disarmed. You demanded we stop exploring. You demanded we share technology, while you hid your own." Rillen looked at the tall alien directly. "You didn't want peace. You wanted obedience." That stung. The Council stirred uncomfortably. Some aliens looked at each other. Others shifted in their chairs. Voss Ring remained still, watching Rillen with something close to respect. The old feathered alien spoke again. "The truth has been hidden too long. Earth's silence was not weakness, it was strategy." He turned toward the Council. "We must ask ourselves, what has Earth become while we laughed behind their back?" The room darkened. Not by design. Lights dimmed automatically as the chamber responded to emotional tension. It happened rarely, but it was built into the Council Hall long ago. When fear became collective, the room responded. And it was responding. Now, suddenly, a panel opened behind Rillen. From it walked two more humans, quiet, focused, dressed like him. One was a woman, her eyes scanning the entire chamber like a hunter. The other was older, carrying a case. They walked up beside Rillen and stood silently. The older man opened the case. Inside was an orb smooth, black and pulsing with inner light. Rillen spoke again. This is a memory core. It contains every council action involving Earth over the last 100 years. He paused. Every betrayal, every lie, every secret plan against us. The orb rose into the air and began glowing dot all across. The room screens began lighting up. Video logs, audio recordings, secret documents, closed-door meeting footage. The truth began to pour out unfiltered, undeniable. Some aliens shouted in panic. Others denied everything. Some went quiet, their eyes full of guilt. And through it all, Rillen stood still. One by one he watched. Their reactions. Then he said the words that broke the silence completely. We didn't come for revenge. We came to remind you. Earth is watching now. Asterisk hidden histories. The orb floated in silence. Above it, holograms danced recordings, intercepted transmissions, classified reports. The Galactic Council's private lies were now on public display inside their own chamber. Some leaders shouted, "This is fake. This is Terran propaganda." But no one believed those words. Not really. The data was too specific. Too real. Worse, too familiar. A video played next. An old council meeting hidden, never meant to be recorded. It showed senior members laughing as they discussed Earth's exile. Let them rot. They're too unpredictable. We'll call it a security measure. The other races won't question us. By the time they grow strong again, we'll control the rest of the galaxy. A hush fell over the hall. The laughter in that clip felt distant now, like echoes from a crime scene. Several younger ambassadors looked shocked. They had never seen this history. They had grown up believing Earth was dangerous, untrustworthy, wild. But now they saw the truth. The Council feared Earth, so they buried it. Rillen stepped forward slowly. His voice was quiet, but the room heard every word. You erased us from maps. You shut down trade routes. You told others we were unstable. And when Earth stayed silent, you thought it meant we were broken. He paused, but silence isn't surrender. One of the youngest council members, a soft-spoken aquatic being, spoke gently. But why wait so long? Why reveal this now? Rillen turned toward him. Because it took this long for your people to forget enough. That you could see clearly. Fear blinded your elders. Arrogance kept them from admitting what they did. But the galaxy deserves the truth. The young ambassador lowered his eyes. A shamed dot from the far side. A voice rang out angry and proud. It was General Crass again. You talk of betrayal. But your kind is violent. You fight like monsters. You destroyed fleets in minutes. You scorched planets. You burned moons. Rillen nodded once. We did, but never first. Every war you speak of, we were attacked first. The orb responded. Again, showing battle logs. The Arkan invasion of Mars, unprovoked. The illegal blockade of Luna. The assassination of a Terran ambassador. And the final strike, a Council-approved mission to disable Earth's orbital defense system. The last recording showed Earth's response. Not words, not threats, but the silent disappearance of the attacking fleet. Gone. No remains. No signal. A new image filled the room. A map showing over 100 Terran outposts across the stars. Hidden. Active. Self-sustained. Each one had grown quietly, without council approval. Each one was marked operational. Impossible, someone gasped. Rillen turned back to the council. You believed we were gone, but we expanded further than anyone. Quietly, efficiently, without needing permission. A deep silence returned. This time, it was not out of fear, but a dawning realization. Vos. Rin stood again. The old one looked more tired than before. He faced the room and raised one feathered hand. We must admit what was done, what was hidden. We banished Earth out of fear, not for peace. And now, Earth returns not as a child, but as a force. He turned to Rillen. Does Earth wish for war? Rillen answered with only one word. No. The chamber waited. Then Rillen looked toward the Terran chair again. He walked slowly toward it. This time, no one protested. No one dared move. And when he sat down, it felt like gravity shifted across the room. The seat that had been empty for 60 years now held something more than a man. It held a memory. It held judgment. It held the return of a forgotten superpower. And as Rillen looked out at the silent faces of alien leaders, he spoke one final line. Earth has arrived. And this time, we stay. Voices rise. The moment Rillen sat in Earth's chair, the chamber felt colder. Not from temperature, but from truth, from the weight of history. Now sitting silently at the council's center, for a full minute, no one said a word. No one moved. Even the air seemed afraid to flow. Then it began, slowly at first. A whisper, a mutter, a growl. Then the shouting started. He can't be allowed to sit. This violates council protocol. They are invaders wearing the mask of diplomats. He just showed us hidden weapons. This is a threat. No, another voice called out. They showed us the truth we buried. The chamber erupted in arguments. Aliens pointed at Rillen. Others pointed at each other. Some stood, fists clenched. Some tried to calm their neighbors. It was chaos. Controlled for years. Now boiling over. In the center of it all. Rillen didn't move. He just listened. His face stayed still, cold, quiet. His calm made the noise louder. One alien, a young reptilian with shaking hands, turned to Rillen and shouted, "Why now? Why come? Back now? What do you want from us?" Rillen looked at him. "We want nothing." He leaned forward slightly. "You called for unity. You offered peace. And you gave war in return." He let the words fall like heavy stones. "Now we've returned to end the cycle." From the higher level, General Krass stood up, fists clenched. He shouted over the noise. "Lies! All of it. Earth is a weapon waiting to be used." He turned to the council. "If we let them stay, they'll control us." Again. "Then don't let them control you," another ambassador replied. "Let them guide us." "You would kneel to a death world?" "I would rather kneel than burn." Suddenly, a loud boom echoed through the chamber, not from an explosion. From Wosrin's staff, striking the floor. The old feathered elder stood again, taller than before. "Enough!" The noise died instantly. Wosrin's voice shook, but his words were sharp. "War, peace, fear, pride. It doesn't matter. The truth stands among us now." He turned to Rillen. "And we must ask it the question that matters most." He looked the human directly in the eyes. "Will Earth lead or punish?" The silence that followed was louder than any explosion. All eyes turned to Rillen. Even those who hated him now waited for the answer. Rillen rose from the answer. Chair slowly. Then he walked back to the center once again. His voice was steady, calm but heavy with weight. "We do not seek control. We do not seek revenge. And we do not want your war." He paused. "But we will no longer accept your lies." He turned slowly, letting every eye meet his. "We came not to demand. We came to remind you. Earth remembers. And now, so will the galaxy." Suddenly, every wall screen changed. Again, no one touched a thing. This time, it wasn't hidden ships or secret files. It was something else. A live broadcast, the Terran fleet, in full view, had decloaked around the outer ring of council space. Dozens of colossal ships, silent, armed, positioned, with precision. But they weren't firing. They weren't even moving. They just waited. One ambassador whispered, "What does this mean?" Another said, "They're showing us restraint." Another one, shaking, said, "No, they're showing us choice." And then Rillen spoke once more, his final words for that day. "Next decision is yours." Asterisk, proof of power. After Ryland's final words, the council session was closed. Officially, the day was over. Unofficially, the real discussions were just beginning. In a shadowed room beneath the chamber, 7 Council. Members met in secret. No cameras. No records. Just old instincts and fear. "He's bluffing," growled General Crass. "They're not bluffing," whispered the aquatic ambassador, still trembling. "You saw the fleet. You felt it." "They only want peace," said one. "No, they want control," snapped another. "And if we do nothing, they'll take it." "Then we strike first," Crass said. "We send an EMP fleet, cut off their ships, trap them before they fire." A murmur passed through the room. Some nodded. Some hesitated, but they all agreed on one thing. Earth had become too powerful to ignore. Outside, Rillen stood near a tall window staring out into the sky. The council hall overlooked the stars, and in those stars his fleet waited. Beside him, the female Terran officer stood silent. Her name was never shared. She didn't need one. They'll try something. She sighed. Rillen nodded. They already have. Inside the secret meeting chamber, the traitors finalized their plan. A signal was sent. Silent. Coded. Hidden. A fleet moved. 3 stealth cruisers uncloaked above the planet, high in orbit. Each one carried EMP warheads meant to knock out any Terran systems on the surface. Target: Ryland's ship. Secondary target: the council hall. Itself. It was not a war. It was meant to be a warning. But as soon as they armed their weapons, every light inside their ships went red. Screens flickered, controls locked, engines died. And then a voice filled the bridge. "This is Earth Defense Protocol Alpha 3. Your systems have been compromised. Please remain calm. You will not be harmed unless you choose to be." On the main screen, Ryland's face appeared live. "We expected this." Panic broke inside the council. Alarms rang. Council members rushed out of private rooms into the main chamber. Who authorized this? What's happening? Who attacked Earth? Crass stood in the center, silent and pale. He had failed. Worse, he had underestimated them. Rillen walked back into the chamber, but this time, he didn't need to say anything. The screens behind him did the speaking. A map showing all 7 secret meetings, including the room they just left. Audio. Recordings. The full fleet plan, including launch timing and weapon. Specs. Earth had known everything. From the start. Rillen finally spoke. "We didn't come with threats. You made the first move, and we stopped it without firing a single shot." His voice was like cold iron. "That is our power, not destruction, but control of consequence." Voz Rin rose slowly. His eyes didn't blink. This is beyond war." Rillen nodded. "It's balance." From the far side, the young aquatic ambassador stood. He raised a hand hesitantly. "I propose Earth be granted full High Council status. Immediately." Half the chamber gasped. The other half stayed silent. Then, slowly, more hands were raised. One by one, until the majority had agreed. Crass slammed his fist into the table, but no one followed him. He turned toward Rillen. "Wanted to rule us." Rillen looked at him, calm and firm. "No, we wanted you to remember that you never ruled us. A seat they can't refuse." The vote was done. It took only minutes, but its weight would echo for centuries. Earth, the forgotten, exiled, underestimated world, had just been granted High Council status. Not begged, not demanded. Earned through silence, control, and undeniable strength. Rillin stood as the chamber lights turned golden, a symbol of accepted power. A human officer beside him said nothing. She didn't need to. This moment was never about ceremony. It was about correction. A correction of history. A correction of fear. Voss Rin slowly walked forward and stood beside Rillin at the center of the chamber. He looked at the human for a long moment, then placed his old hand on the Terran seat's armrest. This chair was empty for 60 years, he said softly. No one dared remove it. No one dared destroy it, because deep inside, we all knew one day it would be filled again. He turned to the council. And now, Earth sits among us, not as a threat, but as a shadow of what we once feared and now must face. Then he did something that shocked even the oldest ambassadors. He bowed to a human to Earth. One by one, others stood. Some bowed their heads. Others simply remained silent. No one mocked Earth. Now, Rillin finally sat. For real this time. Not as a guest, not as a warning, but as a presence. And then he pressed a small device on the armrest. The lights in the chamber shifted again. Not red. Not gold. Blue. A signal that went beyond the chamber. Beyond the planet. Beyond the stars. All across the galaxy. Terran ships decloaked peacefully. On trading worlds. Border planets. Outposts. Research hubs. Each one broadcast the same message. This is Earth. We have returned. We seek no war. But we will no longer be forgotten. We will no longer be silent. Billions heard it. Some cheered. Some panicked. Some just watched the stars, knowing the balance of power had shifted forever. Back in the council chamber, a final question rose from one of the younger ambassadors. She stood, voice unsure but clear. What happens now? Rillin stood again, slowly, and looked around the room. His eyes locked on each face friend. Enemy, unsure. And then he gave the final words Earth had carried for decades. Now, you learn to speak with us. Not above us. Not about us. With us. He walked out of the chamber without another word. Behind him, the council sat in stunned silence. And across the stars, the name Earth was no longer spoken with confusion or pity. It was spoken with caution, with respect, with fear. Because now humanity had taken its seat, and the galaxy would never be the same. Asterisk